Hello and welcome to the final race in the Off the Map Tour for 2020. 3 down, 1 to go in both the elite women and the elite men, and we're in for a great finale in both races. But it's not just about the elites. There's the opportunity for you and me to get involved in the Off the Map Tour as well. There are 4 stages to do. A couple of them have already been ridden, but there is the chance to do the makeups, and you've got until the 30th of August. And when you do the Off the Map Tour, in-game, you get to wear the Great Map kit, and once you've completed all 4 stages, you unlock the opportunity to take Zwift out into the real world with the Map jersey. In commentary, once again, I'm joined by Hannah Walker. Week 1, she joined me from Great Britain. The past 2 weeks, she's been in Austria. This week, she's in France. I wish we had a 5th to see where she'd end up next. Hannah, welcome to the final race.
Thanks very much, Matt. Yeah, the joys of what's going on around the world, but yeah, in France here, and we've had a fantastic Off the Map tour, and I'm really excited for the finale today. We've had some close racing. It's been quite dominant from Vision E racing, but nonetheless, today's going to be a corker.
With all your traveling, you literally have been off the map, but you've got some real life racing over there to focus on. But first, we've got the Off the Map tour to take a look at. This is race 4, so to set the scene, let's now take a look back at the first 3 races.
It's Gigante who's making the move now up towards the front, out of the saddle.
And they're reeling Sarah Gigante back in. How quickly the tables have turned. Duncombe still leading, Lethbridge closing in rapidly. It will be tight on the line, but Lethbridge takes stage 1.
Alice, congratulations on winning the first stage.
I was still in shock. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Lou Bates is applying plenty of pressure. Godby responds, and the watts per kilo goes from white to red.
This is a monster effort from Jackie Godby.
She's on target to make it back-to-back wins for her team.
Vision E Racing continuing in that fantastic form.
Team Vision really is made up of endurance athletes, so we can go for these longer races, we can go for more than an hour and still bring the power to the finish line.
It's now Lou Bates who is up into second position. The battle is on for honours. Duncombe finishing strongly. It was Godby indeed who got the win.
Jackie, back-to-back victories for you in the Off the Map tour. I bet that feels good having the map leaders jerseys on your shoulders.
It looks really fun to go see the replays and see that overlaid over our team jerseys. I mean, it's a wonderful aesthetic. It really is.
So Vision E Racing, they've collected a hat-trick, Hannah. It was interesting to hear Alice Lethbridge at the start there saying that she was surprised. Now she starts the final race as one of the favourites. Let's take a look at the standings. They're in a strong position, but mathematically, St Kilda Cycling Club, they can still get there. They've got 110 points to make up. We then have, say, a Sydney CC. They're in 3rd place, and it's not a very big gap at all between 3rd and 2nd, so that is a real tussle for that position, followed by Team Saris, and then it is R3R in 5th position, who have been going really strongly. Hannah, importantly, we can see the avatar that's doing the spinning around to show off the jersey that they're all racing for, the map leaders jersey. Can anybody take it off the shoulders of Vision E Racing?
Well, looking at the dominance that they've had over the last 3 rounds, it's looking likely that no one's going to be able to shift the jersey off the shoulders of Vision E Racing. But never say never. It's not over until the finish line. And if Sydney CC can get themselves together, can they claw back the points? St Kilda Cycling Club as well. They've got some strong showings for today.
It is a strong position for Vision E Racing. That battle between St Kilda and Sydney, that will be a big one. Throughout each of the races, we've done a recon of the course, and we've had some of the greats of the sport, Hannah, to take a look. We've had Robbie McEwen, 12 stage wins at the Tour de France, 3 green jerseys. Kate Bates, world champion on the velodrome in the points race. Kristen Armstrong, the great American, 3 Olympic Games gold medals. We might have saved the best till last, Hannah.
Yeah, I think we have. And given the caliber of the cycling legends that we've seen so far on our rider recons, I'm on 10 hooks who we've got on to round out the series. And I'm like Pain Cave as well. Let's take a look who it is.
The Three Sisters course, and this is the toughest of the 4 stages in the Off the Map Tour. There's the epic climb and finishes on the volcano. It starts with a nasty little pinch after around about 1 kilometre. About 850 metres worth of altitude gain. Not a whole lot of flat road to speak of. This is definitely the Queen stage. Make the most of the flat section early because there's not much of it. This is the first climb. It's only a 900 metre climb. But in terms of gaining points for your team, this is a real opportunity for anybody that doesn't think they can be a factor at the end of the race to do something to support their team and perhaps get some points at the top of this climb. Bit of support on the road there for Jens Vogt. Shut up legs, and that's exactly what I'm telling mine right now. It's really early though, this climb, so it'll be important, like every Zwift race, to get a really good warm up. Just about to head through the arch. I can see the snow-peaked mountain in front. That's the epic climb to come. Heading along Ocean Boulevard. Make the most of it, but the mountains await. Epic KOM. 9.5 kilometres, average gradient 4%. As I get towards the top, there'll be a sprint for the King of the Mountains points with whoever's left, but then there's the hard part, gradients of 14%. That can be a chance really, without King of the Mountains points on offer, to split the race to pieces. 16.5 kilometres done, and I love this part of the course. We've got the roof over the top of the road with the snow that drifts across. You really feel like you're climbing on the high mountain passes. This is fantastic, this part of the climb. Chance to try and recuperate and get ready for the final pinch to the top. All right, here it is. There's the arch. This is where it gets really tough psychologically. The radio tower's in the distance, and for the pure climbers who have been waiting, this is their moment. Non-climbers, find your rhythm and survive. Climbers, time to shine. Now it's super tough time. You really want to make the most of the super tough on this descent. Out of the snow and back into the green. Right into the heart of the volcano. We are hitting the base of the final climb. The last battle to the finish line. Steepest part of the finish. Last 100 metres, 10% gradient. There it is. Whew. That hurt. The Three Sisters, it is definitely the Queen stage.
Okay, Hannah. So Robbie McEwen might have had green jerseys in the background. Marco Pantani's number from the 98 tour. I had a trampoline and some of the kids' junk from where they'd been playing Ninja Warrior. Come on.
Yeah, well, you know, it's
Here are some of the numbers. This is what confronts them. It's just under 41 kilometres. They've an altitude gain of almost 900 metres. This is a really tough course. Big points up for grabs. The first of them, the Watopia Hill, Queen of the Mountains, 10 points for first place. The Epic KOM, or Queen of the Mountains, 10 points up for grabs there. And then the finish line, 25 points. Mathematically, Vision E Racing, they can still be beaten. So beyond that, what will be needed to try and beat them? A bit of luck with the power-ups. And Hannah, these are all important. And on this course, you would spend every sweat drop you've got to get extra lightweights.
Yeah, you certainly will. And I think, you know, it's all about the accumulation of the points in the intermediate sprint, matching that with the right power-up available and working well as a team. But everyone's going to be vying for that lightweight.
And then, of course, the timing of that lightweight will be really important when they get to the finishing sprint. Let's now take a look at some of the riders to watch. Lou Bates has been a real feature of this series, Hannah.
Yeah, she certainly has. She's the 2016 British National Hill Climb Champion. She broke the record on that day, so this course is going to suit her down to the ground. She's had a strong showing in all of the races so far, and today with the Queen stage, this one's for her.
Lenny Ramsey from I Race Like a Girl might take the title for the best jersey in the race. Jackie Godby, she's been dominant throughout the series, but Alice Lethbridge will be their big hope for today's stage. Jess Bemrose from the Aussie Hump Day Ride. They're a team that always gets plenty of attention. And Kathy Coolin from the Turbo team is another one to watch out for. We're going to see a race, I think, Hannah, that blows apart once they get onto the major climb. The racing is already underway, so let's cut across to the action. And they're onto the climb already, and there is Alice Lethbridge right on cue, Hannah. She's at the front, and she is a rider who can contend with this sort of climb.
Yeah, she certainly can. She's got the power and the endurance. She's a fantastic climber, and we've seen in the other races she really has excelled. But just looking at the jerseys that are in this front group, it looks like she's alone for Vision E Racing Team, so she's got no teammates in this group to help her out. It means that she's going to have to accumulate a lot of the intermediate points and try and finish strongly at the finish as well if they want to seal the deal in this overall team general classification.
And once again, we're seeing two of those St Kilda Cycling Club jerseys. They've got themselves well represented up at the front. And Lethbridge, you can see she's wearing not the normal jersey from Vision E Racing from her team, but the distinctive MAAP Leaders kit, because they are the team leading this series overall. St Kilda, Justine Barrow, Bree Wilson, along with both of the Luxfords, all suited to this sort of course, particularly Bree Wilson. Sydney CC, they have Sarah Gigante back in action today. This course really suits her, Hannah.
Yeah, she's really an out-and-out climber. Whenever the road goes upwards, whenever there's an incline, she's right in the mix. And she should be one looking to take a victory today. She'll be really vying for that for Sydney CC. She sat out one of the stages. She's back in. She have fresh legs, and after her showing in the virtual Tour de France just a few weeks ago, she's going to be vying for that win today.
The Swedish Zwifters, they were very good in the previous race. The Turbo team, as we take a look at some of the riders from that squad, but we're already down to a really reduced front group. Katie Banerjee, incidentally, is in this leading group. Velocity Vixens, look at some of the riders from that team. Bronwyn McGregor's been very good throughout the series and really consistent. As we can see from Vision E Racing, they have Jackie Godby, who's won two of the races, not in the race today. So it's just Alice Lethbridge, really, for them, left to fly the flag and maximise point gains from the front of the race. And for the first time, we already see that Vision E Racing are further down the standings with the points collected so far, and it's St Kilda Cycling Club having collected 15 from the first of the climbs, then Aussie Hump Day Ride. Importantly, St Kilda Cycling Club just 2 points behind 2 points in front of Sydney CC. So they're consolidating their position in second place, but both Sydney and St Kilda have got multiple riders in this leading group.
Yeah, well, it's a real blow for Vision E Racing that they don't have Jackie Godby today, or they don't have Lizzie Duncombe either. Lizzie Duncombe racing over in Estonia in an Ironman, so wasn't able to take to the start. But how's that going to affect their standings today? I think Left's going to have to play a very smart game, not going too much into the red, not trying to do too much work either, but just trying to accumulate those points. But yeah, strong move from St Kilda Cycling Club to amass a few more points for their overall score, their overall tally over Sydney CC.
But we're coming towards the next of the climbs. Here's Bree Vine as we go into the Vine show. You can see Jay warming up next to her. She's for the Sydney CC team. She's got two teammates here with her. She has Sarah Gigante. Emily Watts is also in this group. And the Vines, our researchers have done a little bit of extra homework for us, Hannah. In addition to destroying everybody on Zwift, they're in to model shipbuilding.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some fantastic facts and, great little hobbies at the side of, working and Zwifting. And, yeah, it's pretty interesting, isn't it? What a way to keep your time, keep you busy during your time.
I like it. Very good. As long as it's not the Ruby Princess that brought the coronavirus into Sydney Harbour a little while ago. Here they come towards the QOM, and we're seeing plenty of power being applied at the front, and Banerjee, once again, is showing her strength Luxford is chasing. That's important for points in terms of the St Kilda Cycling Club to maintain their position in second overall. But Jan Banerjee maximises points over the top. Hannah, she's 47 years of age. She's been racing for 3 years, and she's one of the strongest in the field. She's a doctor to boot. Impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you know, where does she find the time to sleep? That's what I want to know. Also known as Dr. Banana Tree, so fantastic little nickname there. Hey, yeah, Katie Banerjee really had a strong tour these past few weeks for Aussie Hump Day riders. And she's found herself with
Luxford. This is important, Hannah. This is the part, there's no points here over this next part of the climb. We take a look at the points over the QON. Confirmation Banerjee ahead of Luxford. Then Justine Barrow towards the front as well. Sarah Gigante the next best, followed by Lou Bates. No points on this part of the climb, but if you can remember back to the men racing on the Three Sisters, this is where the winning move went with Ollie Jones and Jay Vine.
Yeah, well, it's always predictable, isn't it, that a move might go on one of the climbs that has points on offer. And I think it's also about, you know, continuing that speed, taking the momentum into this climb here up towards the radio tower, taking everyone by surprise and putting everyone on the back foot. And you can already see the gaps into, you know, 8th and 9th place, already 11, 12 seconds. And this really has split the field. So really on the upper hand after that move from Banerjee. It's going to take a lot for these riders now. It's a kind of a now or never move. Brie Vine just 7 seconds behind. So trying to also pace yourself, not go too much into the red. But with 20 kilometres remaining of this race, it's time to get back on terms with our leaders.
This last kilometre to the radio tower, this is crunch time. You need to let it all hang out. And the person that is applying the pressure is Sarah Gigante. Remember back to, I think it was the first stage for the women when they went over the top of Leith Hill and Box Hill. Sarah went early, perhaps a little too soon, and she got reeled back in and she missed the split in the end. But this is the sort of course she loves. And here she is, bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Look at the RPMs. It's a little Justine Barrow, 66 revs per minute.
Yeah, well, you can see the red number up in the top right-hand corner of your screen, and you can see the gradient of this course. We're at 15%, now we're back down to 12, but, you know, Sarah Gigante is small in stature. She's a small figure, and, you know, she's very, very lightweight. So whenever the road is at this gradient, 17% now, she really does have the upper hand over her opponents.
Small in stature, big in character. So too is Lou Bates, the British hill climb champion. Hannah, she's fought her way back, and now she's the one who's applying the pressure. And Gigante is now fighting to stick with Bates. Here she is. We go to the Bates garage.
Yeah, the Bates garage in Nottingham over in the UK. She's a project manager in clinical trials of technology. So she's been very, very busy during the recent last few months, but she's starting to open up that gap to Sarah Gigante now. After that big move from Gigante, can she react and try and close the gap to Bates? But Bates just dancing on the pedals, keeping a nice rhythm. She's keeping a nice solid cadence as well, 75 revs per minute. And heart rate not near in the red, but it's quite manageable. Lou Bates looking very comfortable, Matt.
Really impressive. And for multiple reasons, her husband will be really cheering on because she rides on Strava under her husband's name, so as others can't follow her form. He wants to take another segment. We're back on board now with Justine Barrow. She's been distanced a little bit. Justine finds herself at 35 or so seconds behind the leaders. This is crunch time for Justine Barrow if she is to stand any chance of coming back.
Yeah, well, that's a distinctive riding style of Justine Barrow. Has got slightly higher cadence than what we've seen in the previous rounds. And I think if she keeps this rhythm, keeps this momentum, keeps focus, she'll try and close the gap to Brie Vine. Can she get across to her and they can work well together. But it's Lou Bates, the rider, who is really dominating here. Lethbridge for the Vision E Racing team. As we said before, she's the sole rider for Vision E Racing in this front group.
Yeah, she just needs to collect a few more points. They've just about got this race secured, but Lethbridge has done a brilliant job throughout the series. I love that interview that you did with her after she won the first one, and she was the one that was surprised, not you.
Yeah, she was completely in shock. I mean, she only started racing on Zwift very recently, so to have the success that she has in such a short space of time, and I think the way she won as well. Yeah, she just couldn't believe it. She was quite speechless actually, and yeah, very nice to see. And I think as a whole, that team of Vision E-Racing, they've come in, they're having fun. They really trust each other, and I think that's really important between teammates. You trust each other's performance. You can rely on one of your teammates either to help you out or to take the win, or to really race smart.
Now we see Lou Bates. She's almost at the all-important turnaround point at the radio tower. The crew from MAAP themselves have joined the conversation on Facebook with the Zwift Live and making the comment, anyone else feel comfortable on a 14% climb? No matter what speed you try and ride up a climb of those sorts of gradients, and whether it is outdoors or in the garage on Zwift, it's never easy.
It's never easy, it's never comfortable, and personally for me, I don't know about you, Matt, but it's never fun either, because whenever the road goes to those types of gradients, it's certainly not my forte.
Rewarding, but not fun. Bates still off the front on her own, but there's a strong chase group now forming behind her, Hannah, and on this descent, the numbers can really help, particularly if they're well coordinated, as we see Bates go into the super tuck position.
Yeah, she's opened up a 12-second gap now, but as you said, the group behind will travel at a faster speed than the rider out solo. But she's getting into that super tuck. She's making the most of it on this minus 14% gradient and descent. She's going to try and carry as much speed as possible over this left turn. And we continue to go downhill. Katie Banerjee just off the back of this little group of Luxford. 1 second between those two riders, so if they can all get themselves back together to work together, we can see some orange numbers, the numbers turning from white to orange. Shows the power being put down by these riders. They really know that Lou Bates is a huge threat today, and on this course they want to try and catch her back as soon as possible.
And it's on those little bumps where you see those red numbers come in where they need to accelerate and try and close down that gap. It's a strong chasing group. Lethbridge is there, Alice Lethbridge, the winner of the first stage in the Off the Map Tour. We have Laura Luxford for the St Kilda Cycling Club, Katie Banerjee, and the Australian individual time trial champion Sarah Gigante. We spoke before, Hannah, about Katie Banerjee being 47 years of age. Sarah Gigante is in this group at 20 years of age. Katie could be her mum quite comfortably. 27-year age gap.
Yeah, she certainly can, and I just think, this is the fantastic reason, racing on this platform. It doesn't matter how old you are, what you do for a living, whether you're a professional rider or whether you work alongside. You all get these riders in the mix together, competing against each other, and Katie Banerjee having a fantastic tour. And I think it's fantastic. She's a Brit. She lives in Australia. Her hometown is Southampton. Now lives in Sydney. And, she's only been on Zwift since November 2019, so she really has conquered the masterclass of how to race on here, and all the tactics and techniques needed racing on Zwift.
Well, she's now managed to find herself in the front group, not through good luck, but through hard work. The harder I practice, the luckier I get. As that chasing group of 4, they worked well together, Hannah, and they now make it 5 out in front. So Lou Bates is being joined by Sarah Gigante, Alice Lethbridge, Katie Banerjee, and Laura Luxford. They have an advantage over the chasers. Brie Vine is stuck in the middle on her own at 26 seconds behind. We then have a chasing group consisting of Emily Watts, Justine Barrow at 54 seconds behind. It's 1 minute and 21 seconds to the next chaser, and then it's 1:35 back to Coolin in 10th position. Here's Katie Banerjee into the pain cave.
Yeah, Katie Banerjee looking very comfortable putting. You can just see how much effort she's putting in there. She's heart rate's quite low, although we don't know what her max is, but looking very comfortable at 150 beats per minute. She's looking very, very smooth. Got a nice rhythm in that cadence.
And importantly on this descent, the riders in this leading group, they need to take advantage of the super tuck when they can. But make sure that you're back on the pedals at the right moment when it drops below 58 kilometres per hour and there's a little rise in the road. You don't, Hannah, want to find yourself slightly distanced off the wheel, and everybody's seen it when they've been riding on Zwift. Close the gap, 5 metres. It can be a big 5 metres.
It can, certainly, and especially if you've not got the pressure down on the pedals after being in the super tuck, as the road starts to go up now. And I think you know, that plays dividends if you know the course, you've done a course recon, you know all the pinch points on the route as well. You know, you can make the most of when you can go into the super tuck. As we see again, the gradient is going towards that minus 5% gradient.
And now Alice Lethbridge, she finds herself in a position where she's carrying the can for Vision E Racing to see if they can make it a clean sweep, 4 from 4. Here's the chase, and this is Bree Vine on her own. She's now at 28 seconds behind. It wasn't that long ago she was at 35 seconds behind. She goes into the super tuck. She's not surrendering, Hannah. She's fighting all the way to the finish. This is important for Sydney CC to try and get more points in that battle for second place with St Kilda Cycling Club.
Yeah, it is, and you can see if the road isn't going downwards and she's in the super tuck, her numbers are orange. She's pressing on the pedals as hard as she can. She wants to try and make it back into this front group. She knows she's capable of doing it. All it takes is for this front group of 5 riders to start looking at each other, a little bit of tension. No rider pressing on the front, and you know, very soon and very quickly that Bree Vine will be able to close the gap.
And there is every chance that the front group, they start to think tactics ever so slightly. They're down to just inside 13 kilometres to go. Here's Lou Bates. She's looking really composed. Clearly, Hannah, Lou Bates was the strongest on the climb. And the final ascent to the finish line, they'll all know it reasonably well. It's one of the famous climbs on Zwift as they make their way up to the volcano over the epic KOM. This is going to be a climb that will decide who wins. Well, they've done the epic KOM.
Yeah.
They go to the volcano, I should say, for the finish.
Yeah, and I think, you know, which team, which rider is going to go early. We've got 1 rider from each of the teams here, so we've not got 2 riders in the front group. With Bree Vine chasing behind, if I was Sarah Gigante, I'd just lay off the power just a little bit, not do a turn on the front, just sit comfortably on the back, not help the riders out in the front. If she can help her get Bree Vine back on terms into this front group of 5, it'll mean that Sydney CC will have 2 in the front group, which will give them the upper hand over St Kilda Cycling Club. They want to try and take out as many points as possible in the finish line. Of course, we've got 25 points on offer for the first 22 riders.
This is Emily Watts, who is chasing. She's along with Justine Barrow. They find themselves at 1 minute and 5 seconds behind. Bree Vine is in the middle. She's still making progress. Importantly, for those of you watching, don't forget to pull out the Zwift Companion app and give the ride on. At the moment, from the last race, it's Sarah Gigante from Sydney CC. She has the blue jersey as getting the most rides on in the previous race. So let's see who it is this time around.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's a great competition, isn't it? To, you know, support your favourite rider, who you think's having a great ride, who you think's being aggressive, who you know, you're really getting behind and cheering for. So yeah, do go over onto the companion app and give them a ride on.
And now we see that Bree Vine, she's stuck in that awkward position, Hannah. She's now at 30 seconds behind, but she's sandwiched in the middle with Justine Barrow along with Emily Watts chasing. Importantly, for the overall standings, Bree Vine has to fight by herself for the final 10 and a bit kilometres all the way through to the finish to maximise points for the general classification team standings. Here's Sarah Gigante. Look at what she's got her heart rate down to, Hannah. 132, she's so comfortable.
Yeah, this is phenomenal. You know, very, very comfortable for Sarah Gigante, almost a walk in the park for her, looking super strong. And you know, when the gradient, you know, we're flat gradient now, she is able to just sit on the wheels, make the most of the draft, get a breather, take on some fluids, rehydrate herself after that effort up the radio tower climb, saving herself all for the Volcano QOM, I would say.
Well, generally, the consensus seems to be, by those watching on Facebook and making their comments, that it's going to be a Gigante Bates battle to the Volcano. I find that difficult to argue with, but any of the riders in this leading group of 5 are capable of winning. Based on what I saw up that previous climb, particularly with that acceleration to the radio tower, Bates looks to be the strongest, Hannah.
Yeah, she does. Just how much is that effort taken out of her, though? But I know some riders, they like to have a bit of an effort early on in the race, in the middle, just to test the legs, test everyone else as well in the group, just to see how they're feeling. That move that Lou Bates did, she did shell the riders and make it into a 5-rider leading group. So Bates obviously very, very comfortable, but Sarah Gigante, as always, sitting comfortably at the back, just keeping an eye on what's going on at the front of affairs.
And this is a look back with Laura Luxford. This is a little bit earlier on for some of the points, the first of the points for the Queen of the Mountains in the race for the general classification. The all-important points are up for grabs. And it was a tight battle for those points, Hannah.
Yeah, it was. Looks like Jess Brembro, sorry, going across the line in first place on that that QOM. As we go over the bridge here now.
And the question being raised on Zwift about the age of Sarah Gigante, just 19. She is 19. She's 20 in October. I've watched Sarah since she was a young kid, and I just remembered her birth year and forgot that her birthday was actually later in the year. So, yeah, she's still only 19 and in this lead group. Hannah, when she was finishing school, as we take a look at the points at the top with Katie Banerjee at the Epic KOM, brilliant performance by her. Her final year of high school, she went to the Junior World Championships that year and she picked up a silver medal at the Junior World Championships. She also, before those Junior World Championships, she broke both of her arms. So she was training on the home trainer, a lot of it on Zwift, still finishing her schooling. And in her last year of high school, she got a perfect score. Finished high school with a perfect score, 2 broken arms and a silver medal at the Junior World Championships.
Some people are just too gifted, aren't they? Absolutely sensational. I think, you know, work hard, play hard. I think as well, you know, in her first time of asking in a senior national championship, she soloed to victory in the Australian Road Race Championships. A year later, took the individual time trial championship. So really one of the best riders coming out of Australia at the minute, and a really exciting prospect.
She is very much so. St Kilda Cycling Club, so far, they've picked up 32 points. Sydney CC, they've collected 26 points so far today. Aussie Hump Day Ride, they're on 24 for today. And 14 points for Vision E Racing. R3R with 11 points. Importantly, Vision E Racing, that's enough of them, though, to keep defending their lead in the overall series, with just Alice Lethbridge really flying the flag for them in this front group at 7.7 kilometres remaining.
Yeah, I think Alice Lethbridge really holding her own here. It's going to be tight on the line, though. She wants to try and maximise as many points as possible on the finish. I'm just looking down the standings further back in the chasing groups, and it doesn't look like she's got a teammate up there either. So she's going to have a solid move and bide her time, have patience, and she best hope that she's got the lightweight power up saved up for the finish up to the Volcano QOM.
So here are our 5 leaders once again. In the pink MAAP jersey, the series leader, that is Alice Lethbridge. The St Kilda Cycling Club, they're represented out in front by Laura Luxford. For Sydney CC, with the cap on, you can see the Australian individual time trial champion, that is Sarah Gigante. She's in this group riding brilliantly. And the British hill climb champion is also in the lead group, and that is Lou Bates. They're down to 7 kilometres to go.
Well, you can see each of the riders just looking a little bit cagey at the minute. The pace has dropped just a slight little bit, but it is mostly the Laura Luxford on the front for St Kilda Cycling Club doing a lot of the work, along with Alice Lethbridge. Sarah Gigante, as ever, just sitting at the back of this group, keeping a watch on the affairs at the front. Lou Bates now wanting to keep an eye on Sarah Gigante. I think she will note Sarah Gigante down as the rider to watch for this climb. She knows what she's capable of, and I think she saw, you know, at the start of the Radio Tower climb what she was able to do, the turn of acceleration that she had as well.
I wonder what that will do to the strategy of others, particularly Sarah Gigante, who's been prone to be really aggressive, which is something that we like to watch. But for her to win, maybe she needs to change her strategy ever so slightly this time, Hannah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as you said before, we saw her on stage one. She went very, very early on Leith Hill, and she wasn't able to hold on that effort towards the back end of the race. So something that she really struggled with, and she ended up actually missing out on that leading group. She just couldn't, went too much into the red, wasn't able to latch on. But, you know, will she want to leave it a little bit later before she starts her effort? She's very capable of leaving it late until she opens up a sprint.
Incidentally,
to the finish on the climb.
Brie Vine's doing a good job, isn't she, Hannah? Stuck there in 6th position. She's on her own. She's riding an individual time trial. It'll be so much easier to wait for the two chasers, Watts and Barrow, but she is pressing on with the tough task of trying to finish solo in 6th position.
Yeah, she is, and I think you know, it's in her best interest actually to try and stay away for as long as possible. Maybe she's not confident that she'll be able to outdo Emily Watts and Justine Barrow, and I think, you know, she just wants to try and consolidate the points on offer, try and get as much as possible for Sydney Cycling Club.
And good to see also moving up inside the top 10 in that next chasing group, Bronwyn McGregor, who's been a consistent performer throughout the series. This is the Queen stage for a reason, Hannah, and we're down to 5 out in front. And so far throughout the series, they've proven themselves to be the strongest, consistently so.
Yeah, they certainly have, and you know, I think we've had a strong representation of all the teams. Interesting enough, of just looking back at the two, Emily Watts and Justine Barrow. Emily Watts needs to try and get past Justine Barrow in the finish to try and get more points for Sydney CC. So maybe that's why Brie Vine isn't sitting up. She knows that Emily Watts will be capable of beating Justine Barrow in that finale. But looking at the front now, so going out to 47 seconds to Brie Vine, so she's going to have to keep an eye out, only 20 seconds ahead of those two riders of Justine Barrow and Emily Watts.
Yeah, there's Sarah Gigante. She's got herself just stuck in the middle, just trying to sit on the wheels. It's the final 3.7 kilometres where the climb really gets started, but the last 200 metres or so really quite steep. Good to see that we've got some people tuning in from over in the Philippines, and they're organised a Zwift local race, the Philippines, the Bike King Philippines, which is on tomorrow as well. So good luck to everybody who's participating in that event. Back to the front of the race through the volcano, and it's fitting that they go through the volcano at this point, Hannah, because the legs, they will be burning. We thought they might have started to ease up, play a little bit of cat and mouse, but it's consistently been at 4 watts per kilo. No cat, no mouse can keep up at that sort of speed.
No, certainly not. And I think, yeah, all the riders, they can't rest on the laurels too much and take the pace off. They're each wanting to try and make sure that the pace is on. Just be watching out for any attacks that might come as well. But getting through the volcano now. Lou Bates looking very cagey at the minute. I'm just waiting for the moment that she wants to try and make a move.
I love the confidence of Michael McNair on Facebook, on the Zwift Live, who says, Sarah has it. No hesitation from Michael. Flat out, Hannah, Sarah has it.
Well, you know, she's very, very capable of taking it today. She's got a smart way of racing as well. And just to nail down her tactics, it's all about the timing of when she wants to open up and make her move. but has she got patience? And I think this is sometimes something that goes against Sarah Gigante. She's so eager to race and to win. She is a real bike racer, isn't she? And sometimes just needs to be a little bit more patient, wait for the right moment with 3.9 kilometers of racing.
Yeah, with a 19-year-old, that's a good problem to have, as opposed to the opposite. Now we're seeing a move starting to come up through towards the front, perhaps putting a little bit of pressure on. Katie Banerjee, the most experienced rider in this group in terms of life experience. Not necessarily on the bike, but life experience. The 47-year-old is out in front and with a chance to beat the Australian champion, who's just 19, Sarah Gigante, who is bottom left of the picture. Her heart rate at 151 has got room to grow. She's stayed calm for now, 3.4 to race.
Yeah, we'll just look at this, rocking on the bike, out the saddle, dancing on the pedals. She's definitely got room to move with that heart rate. And just look at the facial expression on Sarah Gigante. Really fierce look, she's focused. She really wants to take this win today. And can she upset the apple cart with stopping Vision E Racing from taking a clean sweep of 4 from 4?
And there is the Vision E Racing. You can see number 112 who wears that. She's up towards the front, and that is Alice Lethbridge. That's the Vision E Racing team. They wear the distinctive MAAP kit, the leaders of the series. That she's looking for the clean sweep. She said she was a surprise winner on round 1 of this race. She won't be a surprise this time. 3K still to race. They're onto the climb, 5% gradient. They're still just foxing slightly. Nobody is prepared to go early, Hannah, and I completely understand.
Yeah, and I think, after that win on stage 1, these riders are looking towards Alice Lethbridge. They know what she's capable of. She knows her turn of speed. She can climb. She's a fantastic time trialist. She's got a number of time trialing records over in the UK. As we just take a look at her numbers, so in comparison, her heart rate is a lot higher, nearly 20 beats higher than Sarah Gigante. But keeping a nice tempo there on in cadence. These riders, despite going uphill just then, 25 kilometers per hour.
And a little bit of rest now at this point. You need to make the most of these moments. We're on board on this occasion with Laura Luxford. Her heart rate got up quite high through that little period, up into the 180. So similar to what we saw from Alice Lethbridge just a moment ago. It tells the story that the pressure is really starting to mount with 2.5 kilometers left to race. The final of the races in the Off the Map Tour for 2020. Don't forget, Hannah, there's still a chance for everybody to participate. There are makeup stages that you can do all 4, and you unlock the opportunity to take the MAAP jersey that you wear in-game out into the real world. Here's Katie Banerjee, and she, Hannah, is cruising 152 beats per minute.
Yeah, and a watts very, very low as well, only pushing 122 watts as well, so looking very, very comfortable as she's just on sitting at the back of this group, looking fantastic.
Cruising out the front, Laura Luxford in the St Kilda Cycling Club kit. They've done a great job, Zwift, of getting the St Kilda jersey to be exactly the same as the St Kilda jersey out in the real world.
Well, you see them often club close to you, hey Matt?
Absolutely, and they've done a really good job. They've only been around for around about 23 years or so, the St Kilda Cycling Club, and it's grown to be one of the strongest in the country. The pressure now starting to be applied at the front. It's Banerjee once again, who is going towards the head of the race. Tempo really starting to pick up. This time it looks like Sarah Gigante. She's getting itchy feet once again. So too is Laura Luxford.
Yeah, well, this is a different position than what we've seen in the previous rounds of the Off the Map Tour. Only no rider in this front group has a teammate to help them out, so it's all left to their own devices. What tactic are they going to deploy for this finish? With 1.5 kilometers remaining. It is Lou Bates who goes to the front. She starts to open up the gap now, and just look at this. She's only got Alice Lethbridge on her wheel as the gap starts to open up. Sarah Gigante just biding her time, We've got Laura Luxford just sitting at the back of this group for the St Kilda Cycling Club, but it's Lou Bates who wants to pursue this ride up towards the front. 5% average gradient now.
It's not a show of patience from Lou Bates, it's a show of strength. She's applying the pressure with a little over 1 kilometre remaining in the Off the Map Tour for 2020. The chase is on from behind, as it is Lethbridge, who's looking to make it a clean sweep for Vision E Racing. The chase is on as well from Laura Luxford. The gap is there, but it's not huge. And Bates, maybe she's gone a little bit too early. They've still got her within striking distance. 1.3 seconds her advantage over Luxford, who leads the chase.
Well, is Lou Bates getting a little bit too excited? You can see a gap has opened up to Alice Lethbridge now. 1.3 seconds. Sarah Gigante getting back on terms, but Lou Bates really eager now with just over 800 meters to go. She wants to try and take this victory. She was 4th on stage 1, 3rd on stage 2, 2nd on stage 3. Can she get that all-important victory on stage 4 on the Off the Map Tour? 500 meters to go.
You ran us through the numbers on stage 3. 4th, 3rd, 2nd. It's logical, and she's on target because the gap is opening up. She just wanted to get round numbers all the way through the series and make sure she occupied every spot. Bates is now out to more than a 5-second gap. It's Gigante who is doing the chasing, but she's almost in a position, Sarah Gigante, where she'll be thinking about who it is that's chasing her from behind, because Bates has flown the coop.
Yeah, she certainly can, and you can just see the riders in the back behind Lou Bates. They're trying to chase, but there's no organised chase. No riders want to take it up and close the gap to Lou Bates. So it really is playing into the favour of Lou Bates. But look at she now drops her power up.
She is flying, Lou Bates, riding at more than 6 watts per kilo inside the last few hundred metres, and should be in the garage. If this was real world racing, she'd be contemplating her victory salute, because she will be making it not the clean sweep for Vision E Racing, but the first win for R3R. Bates, the British hill climb champion, is surely going to have enough to hold on, and she does. She's had a 4th, a 3rd, a 2nd, and now she gets a 1st appropriately on the Queen stage around the Three Sisters.
Well, that really was a masterclass of how to ride on that final climb. Took everyone by surprise. No one able to get on terms with Lou Bates. She'll be delighted with that, and she's not the British hill climb champion for nothing.
Well, Alan Hugel has made the comment on the live Facebook feed. Monster ride. Alan has nailed it. It was a monster ride by Lou Bates. She was so heavily marked, but that performance over the last 1,500 metres, she just showed simply that she was stronger than everybody else. That didn't come down to tactics, Hannah. That came down to pure strength.
Yeah, it certainly did, and I think, when we saw her picture-in-picture in her garage back in Nottingham in the UK, she looked comfortable, she looked strong, and she was keeping a nice tempo, keeping all the power going through her legs, no rocking and rolling from the upper body, and that was a real fantastic victory there for Lou Bates, and I'm sure she'll be delighted with that one.
And a well-deserved victory as well. After those near misses, to go, as you mentioned on Friday, in race number 3 for the Off the Map Tour, it seemed logical to go 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and then 1st, but logic doesn't necessarily follow in sport.
No, it never follows in that pattern, does it? It's all about the hard work, you physically putting in the effort. As we can see, the riders here climbing to the top of the climb. These are the chases for the remaining places and on the points.
This is Bemrose coming through to try and get some of those points, mop up the best of the rest. Jen Arnold also making her way through. This is McGregor, Bronwyn McGregor, and she's been really good in this series. I've been impressed with her, Hannah.
Yeah, she's been very, very consistent, and I think, stage upon stage, improved massively, and I think been a great asset to the Aussie Hump Day riders. And
there's been a lot of support for the Aussie Hump Day crew, not surprisingly, on Zwift Live on the Facebook page. Well, here is confirmation. Lou Bates, it was only 2.5 seconds in the end. Understandably, the legs might have tied up a little bit at the finish as Laura Luxford closed in for second place. Alice Lethbridge rounds out the podium for Vision E Racing to secure the series for them. Katie Banerjee in fourth position, followed then by Sarah Gigante. It was Emily Watts who was the next of the best. So Watts and Barrow, they managed to catch Revine. It was then McGregor, followed by Coolan in 10th position. Well, that, Hannah, lived up to expectations as the Queen stage of the race. It was the Queen performance by by Lou Bates. Katie Banerjee was very good, but Lou Bates, that was sensational.
Yeah, it was, and I think, despite the gap coming down towards the end, she had time to sit up, enjoy the sweet victory atop of this Volcano QOM, and she just ran away with it and timed it to perfection, had that power up. She didn't have the lightweight power up, which, she thought she might have needed. She decided, I'm going to run with it, I'm going to use my raw power and, take everyone by surprise.
Well, it would have been interesting to see Vision E Racing get the clean sweep and win all 4 races. They have won the series overall, but I like the fact that another team managed to get a stage victory with R3R being able to get the win. This is the moment, as we take a look at the replay, where Lou Bates went to the front. There were no surprises. There was no burrito. There was no hiding from anybody else. This was just a display of me having more Watts than you.
Yeah, it definitely was, and took everyone by surprise. She just rolled off the front, actually, just put the power down, and just Alice Lethbridge was on her wheel, just wasn't able to match the power put down by Lou Bates. And, she did look back, she just continued that consistent power, and very surprisingly, Sarah Gigante didn't try and jump across to her immediately when Lou Bates went.
For Sarah Gigante, I think that was just a case of simply running out of legs. She tried her luck on the way up to the radio tower, but it didn't quite work out for Sarah Gigante throughout this series. She was strong in race 1. She missed race 2, good again in race 3, and a top 5 finish in race number 4. Well, it is Vision E Racing, Hannah, who take out the overall series. Beyond their dominant performance and Lou Bates today, was there anything that stood out for you?
I think, the way that Laura Luxford, she's been in the front group numerous times throughout the off-the-map tour, likewise with Katie Banerjee. And I think, the way that the teams have all come together, great tactics, they've all worked well together, trying to overhaul Vision E Racing. But I think the dominance from Vision E Racing, the way they've come in, they've trusted each other, they've had fun, and I think all of them have surprised each other the way they've performed. And I think in any other series coming up, they really will be a force to be reckoned with.
In addition to all that, I've really enjoyed the diversity of the women that have been racing, where they come from in the world, the age differences as well, and much of their history. I've enjoyed commentating with you, Hannah. I look forward to doing it again sometime soon. Until I see you in the commentary box, hopefully I see you on Zwift. So goodbye and ride on.
Thanks, Matt. It's been a great tour.
Well, from Hannah Walker in the commentary box to one of the stars of the series that we've seen throughout, Samara Shepherd is a woman who's won 3 titles in mountain biking in New Zealand. She was also one of the women that went to the Zwift Academy a couple of years ago. So Greg Henderson, himself a multiple Olympic Games representative for New Zealand, caught up with her. And I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about Samara Shepherd.
Samara Shepherd here, currently 185 beats per minute, up into the red, as you can see there. On the front, it is Shepherd there.
We got Samara Shepherd off the front here. This is what we were expecting from her. The mountain biker coming out of New Zealand here, cold and steady. Samara Shepherd, 6 watts per kilogram on the attack right now.
3-time New Zealand cross-country mountain bike champ, 2-time Oceania cross-country mountain bike champ. What first drew you to the Zwift platform?
I'd always dabbled in a bit of Zwift for training, but it wasn't until I had an incident out cycling on the roads, so I rode on Zwift for rehab. I got really strong from it and had some of the best numbers I've ever seen, and at the time there was also a community series, the SRAM Send It series, which gave me a really nice link into the Zwift community and also a new outlet to race.
I believe she might be able to pull this off here, Pat. This might have been the race-winning move.
You're also a finalist in last year's Zwift Academy. What led you into that?
At the time I was training for a mountain bike event and I thought it would be a great way to make myself do some hard training, so I signed up and did the first round of the academy and then made the finals, and then had the most amazing experience at the finals. Totally sold on the on the situation, and I was super keen on the opportunity. I was going to drop everything for it.
Shepard's got a hold on the wheel. Look at Shepard up and out of the saddle there. Look at the focus on the screen coming from Samara Shepard. Shepard in command.
You were competing for a contract of nearly 70,000 other entrants and you made top 3. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, it was unreal. The whole opportunity was incredible. I'm so grateful for it.
Samara Shepard, she's also sitting at 186 beats per minute. Crazy heart rate right now.
You've come onto the platform and absolutely started to dominate. What's the best thing about racing on Zwift for you?
I wanted to learn more about road racing, and Zwift was like the opportunity to learn about tactics, and then just to get those opportunities to be in the peloton and learn about sprint timing and bunch positioning, and I really enjoyed that opportunity. It's really nice to link up with people that you know that are in other places around the world and ride with them. It's already developing into its own discipline, and there's a big community behind the race scene. It's becoming a thing that is quite respected, so I definitely think it's just going to go from strength to strength.
Well, it's been nice to learn a little bit more about Samara Shepard, courtesy of Greg Henderson, another one of the Kiwis. We now turn our attention to the men's race, and I'm joined in commentary by a former winner of the Australian National Road Series, Pat Shaw. Pat, there we've got one race to go, and it's been a strong performance by the Canyon E-Racing team. We've seen in the women's, it was Vision E-Racing who dominated. It's been a pretty good performance by Canyon E-Sport here in the men's.
They've been emphatic, and just to quickly touch base on Samara Shepard, she's a phenomenal athlete who's now trying her hand at road cycling. We saw her at the Sun Tour earlier in the year, and I really like her prospects. She's a really aggressive rider, but such a tough rider too. So I look forward to seeing her in both real-life racing and Zwift racing. Well, Canyon Esports, they've dominated, but can they go 4 out of 4? I hope someone upsets their apple cart tonight.
Well, let's set the scene before we get to the fourth and final race and take a look back at the first 3 races of the Off the Map Tour.
Ollie Jones, he's always at the front.
It is the Jones versus Vine battle. It's New Zealand versus Australia. The power-up is now in use for Vine. He is desperately closing in, but it's Jones who holds on.
What a great result. Did it surprise you that you took the victory in the end?
I was really in a good condition for the course, and I'm really happy I could be there at the end and take the victory.
The team that dominated race number 1 are dominating race number 2. Jones has waited patiently with his power up. He now puts it to good use. He's got his nose in front. It's his teammate Vujusan who is chasing.
What a race again.
I got the wheel and then Oli came back on me, and it was a perfect leader for me. I'm so happy I could jump him on the line, so he's 1-1.
Jones over the top for maximum points. Vujusan, Ollie Jones, his teammate's going to pit him at the post again. It's Lionel Vujusan who's trying to make it back-to-back wins. Jones is also challenging. Canyon Esports consolidate their position at the top of the Off the Map Tour.
Another tough race tonight. Do you think that was the toughest so far of the series?
Yeah, a lot of max efforts today.
It's a little bit of tit for tat with you and Lionel at the moment. You won race 1. Lionel race 2, you race 3.
That's it. 2-1 for him.
Well, Pat, because of that across the first 3 races, it is Kenyan Esports who hold a dominant position at the top of the overall standings. Indoor Specialists are in second position. It's then St Kilda Cycling Club, followed by Sydney CC, and then it is the Aussie Hump Day Ride team who find themselves in 5th position. Can anybody shake up that top few positions and change their placing inside the top 5?
Oh, I think the second, third, and fourth have definitely got a big challenge on their hands tonight. It's a different type of course. There'll be some fresh legs come in as well because of the change up, because the first 3 races have been more difficult in the parkour. So tonight's stage is definitely one that can produce an upset. But Vujasan and Jones have been so strong throughout the entire series. It's difficult to see them finishing outside the top 5.
We'll be able to spot them wearing the MAAP jersey, which you can see on that avatar. The course that they're riding is the Magnificent 8. So we've got Matt Stevens to give us his thoughts on what the riders can expect.
The Magnificent 8 may sound like something out of a Western, but it'll be pistons rather than pistols at dawn as our riders take on this mostly flat route that will favour the sprinters of the pack. Beginning in downtown Watopia, our riders will set off through the start-finish barrier in a reverse direction before winding around the volcano, traversing the land bridge, sailing past the waterfall, and then taking on the only significant climb of the route and the first of 5 opportunities to secure those all-important Team GC points, the reverse hilly KOM. They'll then take a right onto Ocean Boulevard before turning left onto the Fuego Flats. After forging their way through the Watopian deserts, they'll then take a right onto the Ocean Boulevard Epic KOM spur and then make their way to downtown Watopia. That would normally be the finish point for us mere mortals, but we wanted to end the series with a bang. So we've made the Magnificent 8 the even more magnificent 16 with a second loop, making it a near-on 60-kilometre slog to glory with some last gasp points up for grabs at the finish. I'm getting lactic acid build-up just at the thoughts of it.
It is the longest course, but it's also the flattest course. And this is one, Pat, where we could see a big group come together to contest the sprint finish. The Magnificent 8, it is 57.2 kilometres, just 262 metres worth of altitude gain. There's the hilly KOM, the Rock Arch Sprint, and then we have the finish line with the all-important 25 points up for grabs. As for the power-ups, so often we talk about the lightweight, but Pat, this is one where we could see the aero and the draft really play a significant role in the sprint for the finish line.
Oh, certainly the aero power-up is going to be the one that the riders are wanting most tonight. But even the burrito breakaway power-up could be a big player. If a move can go, we might see a different result tonight. We haven't seen many breakaways succeed, so it'd be interesting to throw that one in. We have seen invisibility used quite well also during the series.
Let's take a look at some of the riders to watch. Steve Young from Kenyan Esports. He's in a star-studded team. Gavin Dempster from Indoor Sports Specialist. He has been brilliant throughout the series. Tim Cutler of Aussie Hump Day Ride. He might get the ride-on jersey. I'm sure he'll be popular. So too with Joe Sutton of Vitus Pro Cycling. And then we have Joe Reese of Rowe and King. Rowe and King, two of the most famous names in British cycling. They're amongst the riders to watch. Pat, why don't we go and watch them? Because the racing is already underway.
Well, it's going to be a fast start in this type of stage, and it always is. So it's going to be good to catch them here. And one of the riders that we're looking at focusing on tonight is Gavin Dempster, and he has been very, very fortunate with his results so far. Always finishing in the top 10, Matt, but he just hasn't got that big result. I think tonight maybe there's a chance that he can turn it around.
Well, he's a regular to doing 5-hour rides on Zwift. His longest ever training ride was 650 kilometres. So this being the longest course in the off-the-map tour at 57 kilometres, this is playing into his breadbasket. We take a look at the Bolt race team. They're a team that, by name, they should be quick. Bolt, and I just think of you saying. Kenyan Esports, they're at the top of the table, and they have been dominant, Pat.
Yes, and Stevie Young, he comes in tonight, fresh legs. They'll be looking for him to take out the victory tonight for them. Evoque bike presented by Ensure. They've not been terribly focused at the front, but I think tonight's course will offer them a good chance too.
And then indoor specialists. This is the team of Gavin Dempster. They're a chance tonight. I think they could deliver the result to upset Canyon Esports.
Certainly been very, very even throughout and strong as a team. Oliver's Real Foods Racing, well, they're always aggressive. Liam White, Rowan DeVere, Finton Conway, Jesse Featonby and Angus Lyons. That's a strong lineup, but Liam White probably their fastest on the line.
Rowan King, this is the team that we spoke about earlier on with Joe Reese is in there amongst them. We also have the St Kilda Cycling Club, and this is a team that includes Mark O'Brien, who likes the hilly courses, but Nick White, who likes a flat course, and he could be the sprint surprise packet tonight.
And Kyle Ward, partner of Samara Shepherd, so maybe after she was the focus point of our startup in the show, maybe he can have a big race tonight. Jay Vine headlines the Sydney CC team along with Cooper Sayers, but more Ben Hill potentially for tonight. He was strong in race 1. Can he be stronger in race 4?
Team draft, well, they'll need to be drafting for as long as possible, but George Mills-Keeling has been the rider from this team who has really caught my attention.
Been very strong performer throughout the 3 races so far, and tonight is another good option for him. Team AHDR, one of our favourites. Unfortunately, it seems that Graham Frisley's had a mechanical via his internet connection, unfortunately, but Ryan Dowdle and Tim Cutler will headline them.
I was going to pick Graham as the potential winner of the race, so that one is out the door. The Swedish Swifters, they've been so consistent. They've always been near that top 10. I'd like to see them perhaps get a top 5. Trinity Road Racing, Zach Johnson, Pat. Zach Johnson.
Yeah, Zach Johnson, podium finish just a few days ago. He's got a lot of pressure on him, and he did say that he will certainly animate tonight's stage regardless of its elevation gain or lack thereof.
And Vitus Pro Cycling, presented by brother Joe Sutton, is the feature rider from that team that we'll certainly be looking for. The race is already split up a little bit, Pat. They've still got 33.6 kilometres to go. There aren't a lot of climbs really on this circuit to speak of, but it just shows the intensity of the racing.
Yeah, certainly. We always expect a hard hit out from the start as we have a look at some of the earlier features of the stage. This is the sprint replay. One of our favourites,
Jay Vine,
Gary
showing himself
Mueller.
up near the front. Gary Mueller recently became a father. He's been super active on Zwift. Tim Cutler is another one that we'll be looking for throughout today's stage as a potential animator of the race. Likewise with Mark O'Brien, who we've already seen trying to attack. And there's Mark O'Brien up towards the front. He'll be aggressive. Ollie Jones will be hard to beat, Pat.
Yeah, certainly he's been probably the most prolific rider of the series, along with his teammate Vujasan. But this course is probably his toughest. He likes the races to be tough and hilly because of his versatility, but certainly this stage, a bit flatter terrain. He might have a fair bit more competition towards the end, and that man there is one that I expect to be a problem for him in the finish, and that's Ben Hill.
Oh, Ben Hill, generally in real life racing, is just super aggressive. He is the original social distancer, always trying to break away from the peloton. That was a big battle to get through to the early arch and try and collect some points for their teams in the race to try and get towards the top of the table and challenge the Canyon Esport team.
Yeah, Mark O'Brien is getting very good at using the invisibility power-up. There's no doubt about that. He's had it a couple of times in the last 2 races, and again he's had it there today as we see an update of the points so far in the stage, and it's Canyon Esports. Well, who else would we expect at the top of the leaderboard? But a really big fight for the 3rd place in the podium in particular in the overall classification, Matt, between 3rd, 4th and 5th on the overall general classification, which is St Kilda Cycling Club, Sydney Cycling Club, and then Team AHDR, who all sit around about 20 points between them. So this is really on a knife's edge for those 3 teams for that final position on the overall general classification position.
And that's really significant for Sydney CC. No points being collected for St Kilda, so they've closed the gap, Sydney, somewhat. At the start of the day, they found themselves 17 points behind. They're now 11 points behind. They can turn it around and go from 4th to a podium finish. And there's a big gap between top 3 and 4th.
Yes. Yes, there certainly is that. But even in fairness, a strong performance tonight doesn't make it mathematically impossible for one of those 3 teams to catch up to Indoor Specialist, albeit very unlikely.
Given the way they've already collected the most amount of points at the first of the intermediate sprint points, and they've been consistently so good throughout the series, and we've already seen Ollie Jones and Lionel Vujason up towards the front. Dave Williams is also riding up towards the front, Pat, and that's a name that often features in these races.
Yes, certainly David Williams. He's a real up-and-comer in real-life racing, particularly the National Road Series. But he's a strong rider. Joe Sutton right up there as well. Another rider that's in there this evening that I think can probably be a bit of a problem for some of the riders, Cooper Sayers. He's had some issues across the series so far, but tonight might be his night.
You can see we're focusing here quite a bit on Gavin Dempster, the Scot, who's been riding really well throughout this series, riding for the Indoor Specialist. He's been pretty good in terms of the results he's picked up in Zwift racing in Great Britain. There's David Williams, his name just popping up momentarily. Significantly, Gavin Dempster, he was the winner of the Zwift European E-Crit Championships in 2018. So he certainly was one of the early adopters on this platform, Pat.
Yes, certainly. And our COVID lockdown situation, as we look inside Gavin Dempster's pain cave, 406 watts. It's pretty solid pace already as they head on to around about 20 kilometres into the stage tonight. One of the longest stages, as I was about to say, during this COVID-19 lockdown scenario, Matt, it has brought a lot more to Zwift, and a lot of the riders potentially that we're seeing tonight haven't got a vast history in Zwift racing, but certainly they're coming in and showing their presence real early. The 2 White brothers are notable for us here locally, where I'm from, and Nick and Liam both in this race tonight, and would both be looking at a really strong finish in this course, and both probably haven't performed as well as they would have liked so far. Jay Vine using the invisibility now.
And there is Jay as we take a look into the Vine Cave. He's at 155 beats per minute. Jay looks pretty comfortable. He's been close to getting a win in the series, but for Jay, Pat, this is the course that least suits him.
Yeah, probably, and it's interesting. A lot like Ollie Jones, they've sort of adapted themselves perfectly to Zwift racing, and they understand the courses in which they're tackling more often than not. And it's not all that often that we do see these flat courses in Zwift. So to see them tonight, both of those riders performing well, I think it's going to probably be their toughest night to get those top positions. And I think there's some really fresh riders that have come in, particularly even Holden Camo. He came in last stage and for Indoor Specialist. And these fresh riders that have only done 2, maybe 3 races out of the 4, they've definitely got that little bit of an edge on a stage that's going to require a much higher heart rate. As we see Liam White already being aggressive.
Liam White in the distinctive green colours of Oliver's Real Food Racing. He's got himself up towards the front. He's got David Williams for company, so that's a good guy to try and get off the front with. You can see Ollie Jones is amongst those towards the front of the peloton doing the chasing. Pat, Ollie Jones, for the 2nd race running, he wears the jersey as the leader of the Ride On competition. Pull out the phone, get on the Zwift Companion app, give the riders your Ride On to see who gets the most thumbs up.
Yeah, it certainly is a great. I'm a big fan of this, and I know you are too. It's a great jersey to be wearing because it's it's like the fans' jersey, I guess, and maybe something they could employ in real life races too. Vote for the favourite rider, and well, Ollie Jones, he's been a very common pick for the people, and I think that's just because he's a pure entertainer. It doesn't matter the course, doesn't matter the style of the stage. He's always been in that front part of the race, animating it to the very end.
They almost already do it in the Vuelta a España, Pat. The most combative rider is done by popular vote, effectively, from the Spanish TV broadcast only. So you can have a 5-rider breakaway, and if there's only one Spaniard in it, you're almost guaranteed that the Spaniard will get the prize as the most combative.
Well, speaking of the Spanish, Matt, the national championships in Europe are on at the moment, and I vote the Spanish championship as my favourite. And for those that haven't seen the finish last night, it's well worth going back and having a look. And one of my favourites, Luis Leon Sanchez, taking out the victory. But what a finish. It almost made me want to make a little pathway at the national championships in Ballarat.
Yeah, it was a fantastic finish. So too was the French national championships, both the men and the women. It was an emotional, clear victory for Cordon in the women's race, and Demar getting the better of Alaphilippe and Coquart in the men's race was fantastic. Angry Pills today, Pat. He is really trying to rip this race apart.
Last race, and I think it's important that we understand a little bit of his backstory. He is from Victoria. He's a young rider who joins the National Road Series about 2 years ago, and he really has developed quite a nice pace. And when I say a nice pace, something that's attainable and also something that he can build off. So really looking forward to seeing what Dave Williams can do over the next 6 months, and particularly when outdoor racing recommences. But he's really being aggressive here tonight, and I think he's looking at this as an opportunity, maybe because they're not so high on the general classification, maybe they'll let him slip away.
This is Nicky Hug, who we now get a chance to take a look at, and riding at 162 beats per minute. Hickey, I should say. And just the brow, everybody has had that experience with the sweat dropping off the brow. You've got to have a towel when you're racing on Zwift, as well as a really big fan, Pat.
Oh, well, the fan is imperative, and if you haven't got a fan, you'll learn that pretty quickly. It's not much fun mopping up the sweat after the ride, so a fan is imperative, and particularly for the Europeans who have got some stifling heat at the moment. Not so much here in Australia. It's quite freezing down here in Victoria, particularly where I'm from in Ballarat. We had snow again for the second time this winter on Friday, Matt, and although the kids love it, it's very, very cold in the daytime. So Ollie Jones, one of our riders. Oh, well, I don't think any conditions are poor for Zwifting, and we see it even in the summertime. Ollie Jones is definitely one to watch tonight, and we're focusing quite a lot on him, particularly because of his undeniable efforts to finish first, second and first so far throughout the 3 races of the 4-race series. But I'd love to see someone else get up tonight, Matt.
Well, they'll love to round it out. They'll love to take the clean sweep, and it's been quite the battle between Vujason and Jones from that same team, from Canyon East Sport. Almost down to the final 25 kilometres of the off-the-map tour for 2020. This is Joe Rees, who we're focusing on now, moving himself up towards the front. Not off the front, Pat, but just to the front.
Yes, well, Joe Rees is one of our riders to watch tonight, and it's interesting to see what he can pull out of the bag. It's we haven't seen a lot of him so far in the series, but as we keep saying, this stage is very different to the other stages that we've already seen so far, and that's going to really allow some of these riders really to come to the forefront. And I suppose one of the big ones is Joe Rees, but also Stevie Young, who's from that team of the Canyon Esports team that really has taken the cake on every opportunity possible. And I think with the fresh legs, he's a big chance tonight. Tarling, he's a young rider with a lot of physiology in his background. He's such a strong rider, and maybe he could be one to throw a big attack in towards the finish tonight. There are some slight climbs in this course, but probably nothing really that's going to bother this front group that has made this initial split.
It looks like he must have a very high max heart rate, because he's riding along here at 185 beats per minute, which is near the roof for a lot of other people, and he's making it look pretty comfortable. I think, judging by the expression on his face, his max heart rate must be close to 200, Pat.
Yes, well, that's not uncommon for a lot of these younger riders, Matt. We see such big heart rates popping up on our screens, particularly during the winter season here in Australia. But one thing I can say is that I've ridden with plenty of riders on my own team and against in races, and they see it as sort of the poker face. But once you learn who they are, you know when you've got them. Matt Clark used to be a beauty for it. He would look like he was calm and collected, but you always knew once he started talking, that was when he was in the hurt locker. And quite evidently, most people don't want to talk when they're hurting, but as soon as you started hearing the little yaps, you knew you had him on the ropes. We're looking at Reese again. He's now on the aggression, Matt. So one of our riders to watch, and evidently he's being attacking tonight. And it's a long way from the finish, but if you could get the right group together, there is a great chance the back could sit up.
I really like the attitude. He's punching out 6.5 watts per kilo. He can sustain this for a little while as we get on board with Joe Reese. More than 450 watts, close to 180 beats per minute, but the cadence is good, Pat. It's nice and high. It's up over 100. It is causing a reaction from the peloton. He doesn't want the whole group. He wants maybe 2 or 3 to go across to him.
Yeah, that's the difficulty when you get a course like this, that sort of everyone thinks that they're a chance, and in that regard, they're quite unlikely to let someone get away. It's going to have to be a really strong move, and we've already seen through the comments on Facebook that Holden Camo, definitely one of the favourites to watch tonight, even though there are some really strong riders here. He certainly looks like one of the riders that could put a great sprint in at the finish line.
David Williams in real world racing, he rides for the Inform Make team, yeah?
He certainly does, and wears the MAAP clothing, so he certainly will be a favourite for the MAAP team, and we've seen them quite strongly on the comments tonight. So they'll certainly be hoping that Williams can get across the line. Also Mark O'Brien, he's also one of their riders as well, so strong spread of riders throughout the series.
And we're not too far away from the reverse hilly KOM, so there are some points up for grabs. This will be important, Pat, in terms of the battle for the positions behind Canyon Esports in the general classification, particularly that race for third place between St Kilda, Sydney CC and the Aussie Hump Day ride. Between those three teams, at the start of the stage, they were separated by just 20 points. It's gotten a little bit tighter because St Kilda in third, they didn't pick up any points at the intermediate sprint.
Yeah, and certainly the pressure on them, but there's some riders sitting in this group with really quick finishes on them, so they'll be looking to get over the reverse Hillycom. It's not as tough as the Hillycom, but certainly will hurt a few riders, and you've got to be very careful about your usage of your power-ups tonight. You don't quite get them as often on tonight's races, what they have in other races throughout this series, and keeping them until the end is important. I heard post-race talking to Lionel Vujasan that he knew that Ollie Jones had an aero power-up for the finish last week, and Lionel had held on to his aero power-up since the first banner of the stage. So nearly 40 kilometres he held on it, knowing that it would be so crucial for the finish. So some riders do use different tactics, and Lionel, he was leaving nothing to chance. He wanted to hold on to that aero power up all the way to the finish.
What I like about Lionel Vujasan so far in this race, we have not mentioned him at the front. We've only spoken about him. I've seen his name in the top 10 maybe 2 or 3 times. He's just been patient and he's saving himself for the finish. The speed is starting to pick up now, though, at the front. Tim Cutler coming through to the fore. Zach Johnson is also there, heading towards these points that are up for grabs. The gradient is at 4%. There's Vujasan sitting mid-pack. He's in the pink MAAP leaders jersey. His team, Canyon Ishram, they lead the series overall, and they've won 3 from 3. Will it be the Bunny Ears who gets the job done in race at number 4? Meanwhile, at the front, Pat, the pressure is still being applied.
Yes, Tim Cutler, one of our riders to watch, but Lionel Vujasan, he's one of those riders that gets a little bit all over it, Matt, but he certainly does produce the wattage and the results Tim Cutler really laying down the gauntlet here, and certainly one of the stronger riders. Rides for the Aussie Hump Day crew, so certainly one of the favourites because they have a big following. He's got a decent little gap here, but has the timing been right?
Well, he's punching out some huge numbers, more than 500 watts. He's at more than 7.5 watts per kilo. This is a huge performance by Cutler. And as well, I was talking before about Vujrasan, I was thinking of Alex West, the Kiwi on the Canyon Esports team, who we featured last week as one of our riders to really look at. And he said he prides himself on getting through the race with the least amount of watts per kilo on the result sheet at the end. Vujrasan looks as if he's adopting that strategy tonight. Cutler is doing the opposite. He's
That's
punching
correct.
out huge numbers.
Yes, and he never is one for economy, should I say, or economic ways of winning a race. He always goes about the hard way, as does the rider third in the stage at the moment, Zach Johnson. We just moved to him now. He's another rider that looks to really animate things. And actually, these moves from behind, we see Mark O'Brien, Sam Lindsay from St Kilda CC, they're starting to make their move too. Potentially a lead out here by Mark O'Brien for Lindsay. This is a great team effort. But certainly all these riders we speak of are ones that frown upon any form of saving energy.
And Ben Hill, speaking of not saving energy, it's Ben Hill now who comes up to the fore. This is really important for Mark O'Brien. He and the St Kilda Cycling Club, for O'Brien to really contribute. It's on the climb where he needs to maximise gains. But look who it is who bursts through to the fronts. Ollie Jones, Mr. Ride On, series leader, the Kiwi. Jones it is who goes through to the front. He's been the king of Zwift in 2020 so far. Another strong performance by Jones inside the last 20 Ks.
Yes, looks like Ben Hill got over the top of McGoldrick for second. Yes, he did. Actually, it was Hug that has slid into third there, and Lindsay finishing in fourth. So although Canyon Esports picks up the major points, it certainly is a good spread of points amongst the other teams. But Ben Hill, he seemed like he looked good for tonight's stage, and he seems to be in good form already at 20 kilometres to go, just a little bit under that.
He was the favourite before the race started, Pat. He's just shortened in bookie terms as the almost unbackable favourite after that performance. He is sprinting so well. As we can see, the overall points for the team's classification. Canyon Esports, again, consolidating their spot at the top of the leaderboard. Sydney CC, really, they have closed in significantly on St Kilda. And by my calculations, Pat, in the race for that spot between St Kilda and Sydney CC for third, it is now a 1 point gap between those two. And it is St Kilda in third position, 1 point in front of Sydney CC. Provisional, of course, but that's my quick calculation.
I think it's 9. I'm sorry, no, I think it's 9. 110 and 93.
Was that the accumulated points? I was putting the points together from the previous sprint.
Yeah, so I think it's still all on the line. It's going to come down to the final sprint. That's where the maximum points are really going to be gained, and it's really crucial to have several riders in that top 10 in particular. And I think that's going to be a difficult one for St Kilda versus Sydney, because Sydney seems to have faster riders on the line. As we see the replay here, timing absolutely imperative. And well, the man that gets the timing right more often than he doesn't, it seems, is Ollie Jones. He hit out long, still very long, but he had the good legs, and Ben Hill came hard at the line, but just couldn't quite get there. McGoldrick was really probably hitting the top of his pace right on the line. If he had gone a bit earlier, could have made a big difference in the result. But those points crucial. Ben Hill picking up some really vital points there for Sydney CC. So 93 points at the start of the day, 103 now, and just 111 for Sydney St Kilda Cycling Club. So it is
8 points.
Certainly an 8-point lead as they head into the back end of this fourth and final race of the Off the Map Tour. And remember that it's not just a racing tour. You too can also be involved in these maps, at least, either in a race situation or a group ride / Fondo-esque participation ride. And Zach Johnson, he's there now, putting the pressure on the front.
So in the battle for third place, Pat, it is a Zwift off the map state of origin arm wrestle between Victoria and New South Wales, with Sydney CC and St Kilda locked in a duel, just 8 points separating them. This is Zach Johnson now who is applying the pressure at the front. They've opened up a little bit of a gap. He's got a quality group with him out in front. He's got Vine, Dempster and West. They, if they can get themselves organised quickly, will take some catching.
They certainly will, and Cutler there is trying to come across as well. Look, the gap not huge at this minute, so it looks like it will come back together, but always the same protagonists at the front. Although Alex West, we see him for the first time tonight, and he's been pivotal for his Canyon Esports team, mainly picking up the little bit of crumbs here and there required to just make the difference at the end of each stage for the points. But certainly that St Kilda Cycling Club and Sydney CC battle for third is the one that we concentrate on quite a lot, because it is a really exciting one. I don't know, always in these circumstances, Matt, I always love to see the person come from behind and win. It's always more exhilarating, I think.
It depends on which team that you are associated with, Pat. The whole peloton has come from behind, and they've got them back within their grasp. But I like that move. It was a quality group out in front. Good to see the numbers there momentarily of Zach Johnson. He looks as if he's pretty composed. And Pat, I would be surprised if we get to the end of this race without another attack from Zach Johnson.
Oh, wow. And we haven't seen much of Mark O'Brien. We know he does certainly tune into the live stream. Last race we did give him a call out and he threw down a nice attack, so I wonder whether he can do the same tonight. McGoldrick, I don't know a lot about him, but he seems to be right at the front. He's in the important parts of the race. Maybe he can do something special tonight. I wonder who the people following on Facebook believe can take out the win. Let's get some predictions in the chat. And certainly this one looks like it's going to be one of the most hotly contested of the four. So far, we've got the most riders in this group that we've seen for quite a few races. But certainly aggression is the big one. The sprint coming up, Matt.
Yeah, heading towards the sprint, and Ollie Jones, not surprisingly, is right near the front. You would always expect that to be the case, Pat Shaw.
Just be taking it easy. These intermediate sprint points, they're not crucial for them to win the overall. It's going to be highly unlikely that anyone can catch them, certainly now after the strength of their performance already in this stage. So Ollie Jones could be saving himself just for the finish, but I think they feel so confident in Stevie Young that they can just go all day out on the road knowing that he can potentially get the job done at the finish line.
Williams near the front, Cutler also up towards the front. The sprinting is on. There's power-ups being used. And this is Jay Vine, who has gone early. Was that the burrito that I saw him play then, Pat Shaw, to get himself off the front? He's opened up a handy little gap here, Jay Vine. No, it was the ghost.
That is a phenomenal attack, and it's caught him off guard, and he's used it to perfection. We wanted to see it used like that in the National Road Series and the SRAM Senate Series earlier in the Aussie winter, but no one seemed to be using it correctly. But he has opened up a big gap, and what he's doing is maintaining a high level of power output, 7.5 watts per kg. So this is a significant ride, and now we start to see a little bit of moves in the orange numbers as well from behind. But certainly he has got a great lead here, and this could just be the thing that's required for Sydney CC. It's going to be a big effort by Jay Vine to go all the way to the line, though.
Oh, to get maximum points, he's inside 14 kilometres remaining, and that is how you use your invisibility. That was a huge attack by Jay Vine, and you can see the urgency from behind. He's collected maximum points at the sprint, followed by West. It was then Ben Hill rounding out the top three, and Ollie Jones. How strong is Ollie Jones? I have loved the rivalry between Vine and Jones throughout 2020 on Zwift.
Well, a big point there, Matt, is Cooper Sayers picks up 1 point. Jay Vine picks up 5 points. Ben Hill picks up 3 points. So now it is officially third place on the overall general classification on the live standings. So St Kilda needs to start pulling some pins.
And that is now by 1 point for Sydney CC. Yes.
Oh, this is great. And now we see a move. Zach Johnson heads off the front. We're going to get a replay here of that sprint. And what a perfect use of the invisibility power-up. But more importantly, what a fantastic time to use it, knowing the points were on offer and knowing what's at stake. Jay Vine, he's been fairly a single rider out in this series. His main helpers have had dropouts. They've had other issues along the series. So he's been trying to do it one man only. It's been a difficult racing series for him to be one up against the Canyon Esports crew, but he certainly has got the big points on there, and he'll be hoping that his teammates can get the job done on the finish line. Zach Johnson driving it absolutely as hard as he can at the moment. He finished third just the other night, Matt. He's looking for another strong performance here this evening.
Said he would attack. I didn't think it would be so soon. It's Dempster who comes across. Dempster has said that he's almost exclusively powered by pizza. We might need to add pizza as one of the power-ups on Zwift.
My kind of guy, and I think that that's probably what attracts him. He can see after each ride how many slices of pizza he has burnt, and then I think he must double that and put it back in. Gavin Dempster, Vuj's son getting involved now. I think this is being a little bit contagious, this aggressive racing now. Everyone wants a little piece of the pie. We see Gavin Dempster inside his pain cave, and well, still a relatively even pace he's setting, but also his heart rate just at that 165, so plenty of room to move. But with just over 10 kilometres to go, Matt, it really is still anyone's race. And, well, pressure right on St Kilda Cycling Club. How badly do they want that podium finish?
Gavin Dempster, he's backed it off. He's just settled down in that group. The Scott, he's just staying calm momentarily. He took up cycling through riding to work, Pat. Well, I'm riding to work at the moment in my garage as we're in lockdown in Melbourne and I can't go anywhere, but I need an hour on Zwift each morning before I can get functional and get started. Zwift, coffee, day is ready to start. Cooper Sayers, he's wobbling, but he's still in contact and he's a chance to win.
Well, Sydney CC are going to need him. Fine performance from him tonight. And right up there, they probably need Cooper Sayers, Ben Hill, Jay Vine to slide into that top 10 positions as we see him inside his pain cave. And then in in St Kilda's position, they need Nick White and probably Kyle Ward to be their big sprinters. But Dave Williams, Sam Lindsay are both very capable in a flat finish to put themselves right at the front and pick up some crucial points. It's going to be right down to the line for that top 3 position on the general classification. Zach Johnson, once again, Matt Keenan, does he have an endless supply of fuel? Because he is absolutely ripping off the front. 4 seconds lead. It's McGoldrick again that's chasing him, and Holden Camo was right there as well. Joe Sutton, he's playing a bit of a role there, and Vuj's son, all chasing from behind. But they've got to remember, they've got like the likes of Nick White, they've got the likes of Ben Hill that they're dragging along whilst chasing back this amazing attack from Zach Johnson.
My comment around about 5 kilometres ago after Zach was caught with that earlier attack to say, before this race finishes, Pat, Zach Johnson will attack again, was perhaps the least courageous statement I've ever made in commentary. So predictable.
Well, yes, but this move is really establishing itself now. He's almost out to 6 seconds, and that gap is increasing. And it seems that back in the peloton, although they are riding and rotating at the front, it's not at a high wattage at this point. And whilst he continues to push up into the 6 watts per kilo, that lead should continue to go out quite a bit. Still flat finish though, so advantage does go to the peloton, which is still quite numerous.
Ben Hill calling for drinks. There's no team car, but his partner might be there to deliver for him. His partner knows all about it. She's won Australian titles and 2 world titles in the individual pursuit.
Yes, Rebecca, what a fantastic rider. And notably, her victory in the Australian Criterium Championship stayed seated, Matt Keenan, while everyone else was out of the seat, absolutely thrashing. She went for 400 metres to go, and she just outlasted them. Quite phenomenal performance, really, and she has done some really special rides over the years. Well, Ben Hill is calling for drinks. I don't know whether that's drinks are on me or he needs drinks, but drinks are on Zach Johnson. The shout is his. He's off the front. He still has a good lead, and it doesn't look quite entertaining at the moment for the peloton to bring him back.
Oh, he's riding brilliantly. He is just steady out in front. He's a really strong time trialer, Zach Johnson. He has got a big future. You've spoken before that Richie Port is a big rap for him as well.
Yes, well, he's from down in the Apple Isle, so he's got some fans from there. It's Dempster again, Gavin Dempster. He's having a really aggressive night as well, Matt Keenan. We've been talking about him all series, and he has been so good throughout the 3 races already. I think he's finished 4th, 7th, and 8th in the 3 races, so significantly performing well in this. But now over the top, Cutler, it looks like, that's getting involved from Aussie Hump Day Ride. And, well, these riders are absolutely leaving nothing to chance.
Get the Zwift companion app out. Show your support with some ride-ons. Dempster it is who's really forced the tempo. Johnson has done well, Pat, to respond to that increase in the tempo by Dempster, because when the Scott came past Zach Johnson, the speed was significantly higher. The Johnson, he got on the pedals, he's picked up the slipstream, and he's still towards the front of the group.
Yes, he's still up there. And the Hump Day crew has actually got some really good chances in tonight's race, with Ryland Dowdle also in there as well. Joe Reese still right up there, as we see Brown as our rider we're watching at the moment. And Gary Muller, he's been great over the last 6 months, so he'll be one to certainly watch towards the finish. He can pack a sprint, Muller, and he does also tend to time his use of his power-ups to absolute perfection. So there's so many chances in this field tonight, but it's hard to look past some of the guys that have barely touched the front. One of those being Stevie Young, the other Nick White. Nick White in particular, he has just been lurking around that top 10 all night, McKenna, but we've never once seen him on the front.
What is also good, Pat, is to see strong representation by Team Swedish Zwifters in this front group. Sam Brayland is up there. This guy, Pat, he's 40 years of age and has signed with a continental team, a UCI continental team, at the age of 40. He didn't take up cycling until he was 27, when he'd finished with his soccer career. He started in mountain biking, had a nasty fall where he broke his femur, and the doctors thought his cycling career was over, but he ignored that, he got on with it, and he's been racing well on Zwift, and he's been racing well out in the real world. Ollie Jones, if you're tuning in, could you look a little less relaxed and make this look a fraction more difficult? Because
he's on the keyboard.
He looks as if he's just out on a cruisy Sunday ride.
Yeah, he's just typing a few messages to his crew. Yeah, looking good. Got the aero power up. Got about 1,000 ride-ons in my back pocket. He has been the ride-on king in this series, and he wears that ride-on leader's jersey as well. And he certainly is the fan favourite. I just don't see him getting the job done tonight, and someone's got to say it, Matt. I mean, you've already made the Zach Johnson call. I'm going to make an obvious call. Ollie Jones is the favourite for this evening, but I just would like to see another rider push themselves to the front. I mean, there's only so many times I can interview Lionel Vujasan and Ollie Jones after the finish of each stage.
Well, the challenge is to come up with fresh questions. That's the challenge for you if they do win. The challenge for the rest of the peloton is give you somebody else to interview. Goldrick up towards the front, Jones in the middle of the peloton. At this point, Pat, with the peloton really grouped up like this and they are flying along, there is pancake flat stretch of road for them as they head through the desert. It's a case of conserve and get ready for the sprint, surely.
Oh, and if you're not a sprinter and you're part of this Sydney CC or St Kilda Cycling Club team, you don't have an excuse tonight. Mark O'Brien's, they've got to just stay as close to the riders as they can, get into the slipstream, because it could be that 16th or 17th position that makes the difference in this sprint. It looks like there's about 25 riders there, so everyone's going to pick up a point at least, but it's who picks up the most that's going to make the difference. We spoke about it earlier. It's 1 point the difference between the two teams on the overall general classification. And just as it has in the past, it could come down to that one rider. Often teams' classifications are decided like this, Matt Keenan, and it goes back to the least finishing positions of the team on the final stage to take it out. So it's going to be a big one down to the line to see who finishes in that top 25 positions. As we see Mark O'Brien, well, he said, I'm not going to finish 17th. I'm going for the win.
And just moments ago, Pat, we saw lots of featherweight, lightweight power-ups being popped back in that main group, perhaps hoping for an aero before it comes down to the sprint finish. Cutler has responded to this move by O'Brien, but they've got plenty of company. No surprise to see Mark O'Brien off the front. There he is in picture. Mark O'Brien with his broad shoulders and his big biceps. Not quite. It's his huge VO2 max and his horsepower on the bike.
Oh, Mark O'Brien can find the humour in that, Matt Keenan. He's definitely one of the veterans of the cycling fraternity in Victoria and Australia, and he's a phenomenal rider. He continues to be competitive regardless of his 25,000 attempts at retiring, and he certainly will have another opportunity here tonight as he's been lighting it up. And I think it's all for, look at St Kilda Cycling Club's representation right at the front there. Now Nick White that we focus on. He hasn't done a lot at the front tonight. Heart rate 162. Look at the speed. They're just cruising along. 160 watts at 53 kilometres an hour, mind you, and under 5 kilometres to go. This is where precision becomes crucial. And who is going to finish it off the best tonight, particularly in that battle for the top 3 GC, the final position on that podium?
Well, Nick White, he knows that for St Kilda to get into third and back over the top of Sydney CC, he needs to win this stage. He's trying to save himself for the sprint. Mark O'Brien, perhaps a late attack from him to try and open up the sprint early. If it doesn't work for O'Brien's attack, it could work out okay for Nick White. Here comes the next attack, and again, it is St Kilda. It's Mark O'Brien. He's going from just inside the 4 kilometre mark. It's the indoor specialists responding. Dempster, Williams, Cutler, they all want a piece of the action.
Oh, Williams has responded as well. So this is almost a two-pronged attack from St Kilda Cycling Club. This is a good move. Williams, he knew that Mark O'Brien was going to go. Obviously, Mark O'Brien giving the heads up, but look, they're back already. So it is stringing it out. At least they're trying, Matt Keenan. They really want to take out that third position, but it's almost advantage Sydney CC now, who's been able to sit in the slipstream, get the draft. Zach Johnson, boom, orange numbers off the front again. He just hates being in a group of riders. He wants to be aggressive and he wants to try and win solo.
This is a strong attack by Zach Johnson. He's made a few attempts. He keeps going to the well. Now he rides underneath the water, but not surprisingly, there is a quick reaction to Zach Johnson. As soon as he goes, Cutler tries to join him from the Aussie Hump Day Ride crew.
Oh, and Dempster as well has been one of the riders that has been consistently following these attacks. Williams sits next, then it's Sutton, Ryland Dowdle right up there, Lionel Vilja's son. Then we've got Sam Lindsay right up there as well is Andre Deleu. And it's going to be very interesting to see who can get the timing right for this sprint finish.
There's no cruising now inside the last 3 kilometres. The tempo is through the roof, and you can see the watts per kilo are +6 as a general rule of thumb. Dempster, who we've followed closely throughout the Off the Map tour, he's been a joy to watch, and he's trying to spend some of those pizzas that he's been eating to fuel his racing. Not many left in the peloton. Zach Johnson, he's been entertaining, but can he win? Has he got another attack? Can he go Ekimov style with 1 kilometre to go?
Ekimov, one of the great old timers, but I don't see it that way. It'll be a sprint finish tonight. It's just about who can get the timing right with their, well, it would probably be an aero power-up that would be the one to take the cake. I would suspect that quite a few of these riders, particularly the ones that have been in the pack without doing too much aggression, would have an aero power-up in their back pocket ready to go. And Zach Johnson looks like he's just taking a breath. He might have one last launch in him. Certainly Mark O'Brien, we'd expect to see one last attack from him. 1.8 kilometres to go. They've flown around this course 55 kilometres in 1 hour 13. And we now start to see Stevie Young towards the front. We can see the green Oliver's jersey. Liam White, he's at the front as well. Other fast sprinters, Muller, he's right there. McGoldrick's been strong tonight. Larson could be a surprise packet as well.
And Hill is also up there towards the front. Delu, we can see the red numbers are coming to the fore. It's starting to get aggressive inside the last 1,500 metres. Stevie Young, you've mentioned a few times. Zach Johnson, another dip. I think this is number 5. He tries one more time.
He tries one more time and he's dragged a fair few of those riders into the orange numbers. It's not easy to go into the orange numbers of 10 watts per kilo or more and then get your breath back for a great sprint finish. 1,000 metres to go. 1 kilometre, they go under the banner. Who's going to take this one out to end the Off the Map tour? It's been a fantastic 4-race series. Dave Williams right up there, Deleu, Vujasan, McGoldrick, who was spoken about many times. Mark O'Brien, he now goes long. He wants to hurt him. He wants to make it a hard, long sprint. His St Kilda Cycling Club team, they need 1 more point. Well, 2, or otherwise we'd go to countback, I suggest. But it's Hug. Hug's that's driving the pace. 6:50 to go.
Hug it is who leads. He's got a little bit of a gap. It's Sutton who is chasing. How much longer can Hug hold this tempo for? Amongst those chasing, Hodge is there. And you see a little bit further back, Moxon is in amongst it. Vujasan is getting himself up towards the front. Power-ups are starting to explode. Hug is still at the front, but now he's being swamped as power-ups are popping everywhere. Vujasan sprinting. The bunny ears are heading back, and it's Vujasan with Hill charging over the top. A rapid finish. Ben Hill manages to get there with perfect timing, or is it? We'll wait for confirmation. That was super tight. Vujasan looked so good for so long. He could almost taste the finish line. Then Hill came quickly. It was Kumo that was right on him. I think it was Hill that just got there.
Well, they're saying Kumo.
By 0.170 of a second ahead of Hill, with Vujasan in 3rd position. It was tight, Pat. Even with the replay, we weren't sure.
Well, even though they didn't take out the win, 3rd and 4th and 10th for Canyon Esports Cycling. It's unofficial so far. We're just having a look. Holden Kumo, Ben Hill, Vujasan, strong finishes. And I think that Ben Hill's 2nd place will get it done for Sydney CC for 3rd place overall in the Off the Map tour.
Yeah, and for indoor specialists, that win for Holden Kumo will secure 2nd place for them in the series. And Sydney, with that performance from Ben Hill, plus their intermediate points along the way, will be enough to move them from 4th place up into 3rd place. So despite the fact that Canyon Esports were dominant at the start, it was enough for others to shuffle the decks ever so slightly. Canyon Esports with 73 points, followed then by Indoor Specialists with 62 points today. Sydney CC also with 62. Evoc Bike with 4 points. And then the Swedish Zwifters, Pat, they rode really well today. Good to see them collecting a big chunk of points.
Yes, well, and to all the teams. That's the closest they've been able to get to Canyon Esports. And certainly I think it's justification for the way that Indoor Specialists have been racing throughout this series, because they really deserve that victory. They've been very, very well placed as a team each and every race. They've just been really struggling to crack into the top 5. But tonight, a big win from Kumo.
Yeah, it was a fantastic win, and wasn't it tight in the finish? So that big sprint, and it's important. This is one of those races, Pat, with the way the point system works, where it's really important to sprint for 8th position or sprint for 12th position and accumulate those points for your team in every single race. That's what I've really loved about the format for the Off the Map tour. Here's a look at the replay of the sprint. Pat, you saw those power-ups. They were popping like balloons at a 6th kid's birthday party.
They were raining like confetti at a Greek wedding. It was phenomenal coming out to the finish. And it was Vujasan. He looked like he got the timing right. He just went 100 metres too early. And the timing right came from Kumo and Ben Hill. Ben Hill tried to get in that slipstream of Kumo, but Kumo just too quick. And strong performances there all the way to the line. And now we see the general classification overall for the series.
Dominant performance by Canyon Esports. They win ahead of indoor specialist St Kilda. Well, they slipped off the podium as Sydney have got the better of them. Sydney CC, Pat, they move themselves up into third place. St Kilda in fourth. Team Aussie Hump Day Ride in fifth position. They are one of the most popular rides, one of the most popular teams. I enjoy doing their events, particularly on a Sunday morning. Evoc in sixth, followed by Bolt Racing Team. The Swedes in eighth. They rode really well today. And on race number 3, Vitus Pro Cycling, presented by Brother, in ninth position. Then Trinity Road Racing. They finished in 10th place in the series. There was no doubt about it, really, from round number 1, race number 1. Canyon Esports, they were always going to be so difficult to beat, Pat.
Oh, certainly. And look, they really put the hammer down from the get-go. And I think that's what put the rest of the teams on the back foot. And then they were chasing the whole way. But it was really round 1 and round 3 that they just smashed the opposition. And it was never really in doubt for them. And particularly when you win 3 of the 4 races available, you're always going to be a strong performer. Indoor Specialist, I really enjoyed watching, though, Matt. And I think they rode really well as a team. Coordinated themselves. They were consistently 2 or 3 riders in the top 10, but they just didn't fill the top 5 positions often enough.
Well, Pat, I've enjoyed commentating on the series with you. It's been really entertaining. I've loved how aggressive it has been, particularly the likes of Mark O'Brien, Zach Johnson tonight, and we've also seen in the women's racing some great aggression. We saw in that Vision Esports, they completely dominated that series. And at the top of the table, well ahead of St Kilda, and then Sydney in third. So both the women, Pat, and the men, a big arm wrestle between St Kilda and Sydney. 1-1, exactly. We need to do the Off the Map Tour 2021 as the decider between those two clubs.
Yeah, certainly been fantastic racing. I loved yours and Hannah's commentary on the women's race. And the women's race was incredibly good to watch. Sarah Gigante, she's been a great feature as well, but so many great riders in that series too.
And R3R with Lou Bates getting the win today, preventing Vision E-Racing from taking a clean sweep. And then it was the Aussie Hump Day Ride rounding out the top 5 in the women's event, followed by Team Saris, Velocity, Turbo, I Race Like a Girl, and Team Swedish Zwifters in both events. Good to see that squad getting into the top 10. So it was Vision E-Racing, Pat, taking out the women's race. Canyon Esports, they dominated the men's series. Thanks for joining me for Off the Map 2020, Pat Shaw.
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic to be part of the commentary crew, and thanks to MAAP for putting on a great series, and well done to all the riders. Unfortunately, no Graham Frisley tonight with a dropout, but it was fantastic racing.
Well, that's it, unfortunately, for the elite racing, but that's not it for the Off the Map Tour. It continues for all of us to participate in until the 30th of August. So if you have missed out on some of the earlier stages, there'll be a chance to do the makeup. Get on to the Zwift companion app, and you'll see that today's Queen stage that we just watched in the women's race, the Three Sisters, you can start riding that within the next 24 hours. I've only done one stage. I've got 3 to go to be able to unlock the MAAP jersey. It looks great in-game. I'm looking forward to taking it out into the real world. On behalf of Pat Shaw, Hannah Walker, and the rest of the team from Zwift, thanks for watching, and ride on.